We can get more now with France 24's Emmanuel Chaze. Emmanuel, unlike anything we've seen before there in Dobropillia, are we already seeing the effects of the United States stopping to share its intelligence with Kyiv's military officials?
Well, indeed, that was what Ukrainians were fearing, that with the stopping of U.S. sharing of its satellite imagery, it would be more difficult for the Ukrainian air defense to spot Russian military movements, including when they launch bombs. And you were mentioning Dobropillia. What happened last night over Dobropillia was that 2 missiles and a drone were thrown at residential buildings in the city center of Dobropillia. It was a double tap. This means that when rescuers were on site to rescue people from under the rubble, there was a second strike in order to cause maximum damage. This goes against international law to strike once rescuers are on site. I mean, even to strike a civilian building goes under against international law. So we see once again Russia violating this, seeking to inflict maximum damage to population, especially to the population living closer to the front line. I've been near Dobropillia just a few months ago in nearby Bilotserske, and people there, they often internally displaced people who already had to leave embattled cities further east, and they stay close to the front line simply because they have no prospects of going somewhere else, and only once they are bombed out, literally, will they flee. But they are trying to stay in their region, even if there's a mandatory evacuation order in place in Donetsk region since October. And there's really a fear here in Ukraine since the pausing, the halt of U.S. military support in all kinds, that such strikes will increase in frequency and also be deadlier and more destructive. And what we've seen over the past 24 hours, over 20 people died, mostly close to the front line, but also in the northeastern region of Kyiv, where 3 people were killed in another bombing. We really fear here in Ukraine that those bombings will become deadlier and more frequent now.
Just a quick question. It's also looking quite bad in the Kursk region for Ukraine's military. They claims that they are being surrounded by Russian forces.
Yes, absolutely. The situation was already very difficult for Ukrainian troops, but the fact that they keep on holding that strip of land in the Kursk region is, very important strategically for Kyiv if Ukraine comes to a table of negotiations, because that's the bargaining chip they could have in order to deal with Russia for any discussion when it comes to a return of illegally occupied territory here in Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't have any will to keep its presence in the Kursk region indefinitely, but it wants to get back its own territory on Ukrainian soil currently illegally occupied. And yes, the situation is very difficult. Officials speaking anonymously said that due to the lack of U.S. shared intelligence, it's more difficult for Ukrainian soldiers to hold their position, and that means that they are being bombed out of their position in Kursk region, that there's a risk of them being surrounded. There's thousands of Ukrainian troops there, and if they are surrounded, indeed encircled, it will be, of course, very difficult for them to get out of there alive, or otherwise they would be taken prisoner. And we know how prisoners are being treated in Russia. The conditions of detention are appalling, also violating international rights. So it's a very difficult situation, both on this Kursk front line and also for civilians all across the country. And I'd just like to point out that we are currently under air red alert here in Kyiv as well, where I could hear explosions just before coming on air to join you.
And it just shows that the war is continuing not only on the front lines, but very much over the skies of the capital where Emmanuel is based. Please stay safe as always there. Emmanuel Chaze coming to us from Kyiv in Ukraine.